What if everything we were told about space exploration was a cover story? I know, it sounds insane, but stay with me. Because in 2025, a mysterious file called Project Prometheus surfaced online. It came from a former astronaut, someone who vanished decades ago, claiming that a secret mission to Mars happened in the 1970s. Not to explore, not to colonize, but to respond to something that called us. If you've ever felt like parts of our history just don't add up, if you've ever questioned why we really stopped going to the moon, then this story is for you. They said he was just another ex-astronaut who'd gone off the grid, burned out, reclusive, a man who had stared too long into the void. His name was Commander Elias Monroe, NASA veteran, for missions, 2 on the International Space Station, 1 classified and 1 that, officially, never happened. For nearly 20 years, Monroe lived in silence, deep in the Colorado Rockies. No social media, no interviews, no memoirs, just static on the line whenever someone tried to reach him. Until May 3rd, 2025. That morning, a file titled Project Prometheus was uploaded anonymously to an encrypted web forum known only to intelligence insiders and deep conspiracy researchers. The metadata traced back to a server buried in a research node once connected to NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab. It contained voice recordings, declassified mission fragments, and Monroe's personal logs. But more than that, it told a story no one was supposed to hear. According to Monroe, in the early 1970s, during the height of the Cold War and just after the last official Apollo mission, a covert program was initiated between the United States and a handful of global allies. It was not about beating the Soviets to space. It was about leaving Earth. The mission was codenamed Prometheus. Publicly, the space race had ended. Privately, a new race had begun, fueled by something far more disturbing than rivalry. It started with a signal, not a transmission, but a pattern, discovered in 1968 by a team of astrophysicists at Arecibo Observatory. A repeating structure embedded in cosmic background radiation, one that appeared intelligently encoded. Buried inside that signal was a warning, a solar event, a timeline, and coordinates. Coordinates that pointed not to Earth, but to Mars. In the decades that followed, official history would pretend the Apollo program simply ended. Budget cuts, public fatigue, politics. But Monroe's file suggested something far more calculated. Apollo 17, launched in 1972, was publicly the last manned mission to the moon. What Monroe revealed was that it wasn't the final launch, only the final one we were told about. What came next was buried in black budgets and blank pages. Between 1973 and 1977, at least 3 undocumented launches took place. The rockets left Cape Canaveral under the cover of night, with telemetry mast and mission control split between multiple military facilities. There were no press conferences, no television broadcasts, no ticker tape parades. The payload? A modular craft, pieced together in orbit, designed not for lunar travel, but interplanetary flight. Its destination, Mars. According to Monroe, the craft was equipped with experimental propulsion, ion-based, powered by a reactor allegedly developed using technology reverse-engineered from debris recovered in New Mexico in 1947. Whether it came from Roswell or not, Monroe never clarified. He simply called it non-terrestrial in origin. The mission crew? A hand-picked group of 8, military-trained, medically modified, and sworn to absolute silence. Monroe wasn't among them, not then. At the time, he was a junior flight engineer monitoring telemetry from a classified tracking station in Greenland. But what he saw changed him forever. Because the Mars landing succeeded, not in the way the public imagines, with a triumphant flag and a proud announcement. No, the success was quiet, surgical, and disturbing. The coordinates embedded in the cosmic signal, they led to a region near the base of Olympus Mons. And what the crew found there half buried in red dust was not natural. It was a structure. It stood nearly 60 meters tall, angled partially beneath the Martian surface. Not a temple, not a ruin. Something in between architecture and machinery. Smooth walls, no entry point, no markings, except one, a symbol burned into the alloy like it had been etched by light itself. 3 interlocking spirals, identical to patterns found in Neolithic sites across Earth. from Ireland to Turkey, from the Nazca Plateau to the caves of China. It was as if whoever, or whatever, built this object had once walked our world. The structure gave off no radiation, no signal, but seismic sensors detected a pulse, steady and rhythmic, coming from deep within the planet. Like a slow heartbeat, the crew transmitted all findings to ground control. The data was encrypted, segmented, and buried under military research code names. None of it was ever released. 3 days later, the team reported a breach in the lander's environmental systems. 1 crew member dead, 2 incapacitated. No signs of trauma, only signs of psychological collapse. Their final transmission was brief, a whisper through static. It's not dead, it's waiting. Then silence. According to Monroe, recovery efforts were deemed too dangerous. The decision was made to abandon the site. Publicly, Mars was declared lifeless. Privately, it was marked as forbidden. That was the last official word, or so everyone thought, because in 1997, Monroe himself was approached, offered a place in what he was told was a deep space contingency program. No further details, until he boarded a craft not listed in any registry, launched from a site he was never allowed to name. And for the next 11 months, he was off Earth. They never called it Mars, not officially. In all mission briefings, it was simply referred to as Site Echo. Monroe's crew didn't land near Olympus Mons. They landed inside it. A tunnel, previously undetected, had opened, carved cleanly into the mountain's outer slope. Whether it had been triggered by the first team or opened by something else, no one could say. But Monroe and his group were sent to investigate what the original mission never finished. The descent lasted 6 hours. No natural light. Only the dim glow of embedded patterns along the inner walls, luminescent, pulsing slowly in sync with that same planetary heartbeat. Inside, the air was breathable, impossible by Martian standards. Temperature, 22 degrees Celsius. Humidity, 60%. It was as if the structure had been designed for human life, or something similar. They encountered no life forms, no traps, no resistance. But the deeper they went, the more they felt watched, as if the walls were aware of them. At the lowest level, they found a chamber, octagonal, metallic, still active. In its center stood a pedestal holding what Monroe could only describe as a conscious machine. It didn't move. It didn't speak. But it reacted. When he approached, the room responded, walls vibrating, symbols flashing in sequences too fast to comprehend. He didn't understand the technology, but he understood the feeling. Contact. He received images, visions, not words, not sound, just flashes of knowledge. Of Earth, seen from above. Of pyramids across continents lighting up simultaneously. Of a flood, a fire, and then silence. They stayed for 17 days. On the final day, Monroe blacked out. He awoke on Earth. No re-entry logs, no debriefing, just a simple order. Forget everything. Monroe never returned to space. After that mission, he vanished from every program roster. No retirement ceremony, no official dismissal, just a quiet disappearance. He moved to the Rockies, changed his name, lived alone. But the memories followed. Not like dreams, more like downloads. Flashes of geometry, pulses of sound, moments where time seemed to stutter around him. He once claimed that the structure hadn't taught him anything. It had simply unlocked something. Something that had always been there, buried in his mind, waiting. He never spoke publicly again. But before his death, Monroe compiled everything, logs, sketches, audio diaries, and encoded them into one data package. Project Prometheus, released posthumously, without explanation. Within days, it was dismissed by authorities as a fabrication. NASA issued no comment. No mainstream outlet picked it up, but not everyone ignored it. A week after the upload, a linguist in Estonia went missing after claiming the spiral symbols matched pre-Indo-European protoscript. A young astronomer in Canada suffered a mental breakdown after reporting rhythmic anomalies in Mars telemetry. And in a rural village in Peru, cave paintings appeared overnight, patterns identical to those in Monroe's files. No one could explain it. No one wanted to. And still, beneath the dust of Olympus Mons, the structure remains, dormant, silent, or perhaps simply patient.